Good evening. I'm Spot On Weather meteorologist Matthew Euler, and we're going to take a look at the latest on Hurricane Irma this evening. Looking across the western Atlantic Ocean to start this video, you will see that there is a cold front which has just moved off the east coast of the United States, draping itself from just off the mid-Atlantic down just offshore of the Carolinas into Florida. And then you'll see Hurricane Irma generally in the bottom right portion of the satellite image here. And it's a very dangerous storm. It's heading on a westerly course and it's east of the Leeward Islands at the present time. Looking at Hurricane Irma's appearance on satellite imagery, this is the enhanced infrared satellite imagery. Again, as I mentioned the other evening, these oranges and these reds indicate the coldest cloud tops, basically the area where these strong, tall clouds are building vertically and reaching their highest point in the atmosphere. The red coating, the center of circulation is basically in this location here with this red coating indicating the coldest, highest cloud tops. So there's a lot of great symmetrical appearance to this system. It's very tightly wound. These cirrus clouds to the northeast indicate that we have good anticyclonic or high pressure aloft over the hurricane, which is what you typically need for a strengthening system. That high pressure aloft over the top of the storm, that generally removes the mass, the incoming mass from the low levels and quickly evacuates it aloft. Looking at the latest National Hurricane Center forecast track, Irma, as of 8 p.m. this evening, Eastern Daylight Time, is currently situated at 17.4 north, 50.3 west, or 760 miles east of the Leeward Islands. The max sustained winds are at 115 miles per hour, and those are sustained. And what that means is those are steady winds. Those are not the wind gusts. There's wind gusts even higher than 115 miles per hour. Movement right now is to the west at 14 miles per hour, and the minimum central pressure is down to 959 millibars, or 28.32 inches. I mentioned this the other night, and I'll mention it once again. The standard atmospheric pressure is 1,013 millibars, or 29.92 inches. So this mark is well below what you normally would get in the atmosphere. The National Hurricane Center track generally moves it on a west-southwest course through 2 a.m. Tuesday morning, and then it starts turning more to the west-northwest course as of Tuesday afternoon at 2 p.m., Wednesday afternoon at 2 p.m. Notice the M's again here indicate that it is a major hurricane. The position on the 5-day outlook takes it 2 p.m. on Friday in the vicinity of the Bahamas. So this is something that we really got to watch carefully. Obviously, for our forecast here in Southeast Virginia, anywhere along the East Coast, from southern Florida all the way up through Virginia, we got to keep a close eye on this hurricane. And also, we cannot rule out a possibility that this hurricane may go into the Gulf of Mexico. So right now, we're still sitting at about 8 days out from possible landfall. A lot can change between now and then, and that will be my theme throughout this video. All right, and let's take a look at the GFS ensembles and the intensity forecast as well for Irma. Right now, the center of the storm is generally east of the Leeward Islands, and as I mentioned the other night, the confidence is denoted by how close the lines are together. If the lines are really close together or almost on top of each other, that indicates very high confidence in the forecast. So you notice most of these lines are fairly close to each other, all the way through the Leeward Islands, north of Puerto Rico, basically northeast of Cuba. There's a lot of high confidence in where the system's going. We do have an area of high pressure over the Atlantic known as the Bermuda-Azores High, and the clockwise circulation around that high generally steers hurricanes in the low latitudes northwestward towards the United States this time of year. You'll notice these lines, these are all the different model runs. You notice how much farther apart they get, anywhere from Florida all the way up into Virginia. but a lot of concentration from the earlier. This is a 12 Zulu ensemble, by the way, so it's a little bit older, but this is from earlier today. This shows you the spread, though. Look how much farther apart the lines get over time. So again, now is a time to prepare, just in case this system were to affect you. Looking at the intensity forecast for Irma, Category 3 storm right now. We are expecting the system to ramp up to a Category 4 type storm. There are the wind speeds on the left in knots, and generally the model consensus, there's very good agreement here that the storm will range between 100 and 120 knots sustained, at least out through the next 120 hours or 5 days. Now looking at the European ensembles, where this storm could possibly track, again, notice the high confidence initially in the European ensemble, all these different model runs. Just look at how close and tightly packed these models runs are, and then as you get further out in time, notice how widespread and the less confidence that we have over time, anywhere from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up into Maryland, and that is quite a large swath of territory. So keep in mind, we really need to emphasize this, that the track error substantially increases beyond day 5 or beyond 120 hours. So the models are going to tend to go back and forth a lot over the coming days. The track will change numerous times during the life of Irma as Irma transits to the northwest. So just keep that in mind. So now this is the fun part of any kind of discussion, the dynamics, what causes these systems to be steered, what direction they go. And that has to do more with the factors. So what factors are there to consider in the ultimate track of this powerful hurricane? Well, first of all, this is the forecast on early morning on Friday, the 8th of September, this upcoming Friday. So on this chart, you have a 1,025 millibars. It's a fairly strong high situated over northwest Illinois, eastern Iowa. There is an upper level trough that basically the trough axis runs from Ohio down into West Virginia, into western North Carolina. So a trough is digging in the eastern United States. And then you have Irma situated down, basically approaching the Bahamas at the time. So these are three main players, or three main synoptic features that have to be watched closely in determining the ultimate track of Irma. By this point, too, I did not mention this, but there is a frontal system that will have pushed off the east coast of the United States. Okay, so something we got to keep a close eye on. These are some main synoptic features. Now, the strength, the positioning, those are going to ultimately determine where Irma ends up going. So now we're moving the forecast forward to basically Saturday evening, about 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Saturday evening, the 9th of September. So the high from the previous slide here, 1,025 millibars, sitting over eastern Iowa, northwestern Illinois, that shifts east. The trough that was once over the eastern United States is now shifted and flattened out, shifted offshore. Meanwhile, Irma remains underneath the trough, which is now lifted into New England. We have the 1,026 millibar high situated over northern Ohio. So one thing I want to mention, question is will the high pressure system, this high, move east over the North Atlantic to prevent Irma from going out to sea? Will this high move over, this ridging move basically from west to east, which is going to prevent Irma from going out to sea? That's one big question. The other question is, or the main statement I want to make here is, low pressure systems, whether it be a hurricane or any type of low pressure outside the tropics as well, low pressure systems tend to travel towards the path of least resistance. They seek out areas of lower pressure. So Irma will generally not be allowed to go out to sea if this high pressure moves in over the top of it. And that's the main thing we're really looking at in determining the ultimate track. That's one of the main features. All right, so now we're moving forward to Monday evening the 11th. Monday evening the 11th at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Irma is now moving north just off the Carolina coast. We have the 1,028 millibar high situated over lower Michigan. And then we have another area of high pressure with 1,021s millibars sitting over the North Atlantic. So there's a high originating from Wisconsin, Michigan, all the way into the North Atlantic. Now, the American GFS model, which I'm showing you here for the track, that is basically saying this high is going to basically drape itself over the top of Irma and not allow it to go out towards higher pressure, out to sea. Instead, it's going to direct it in towards the Carolina coast. Now, I will also say the 12Z European model has a different scenario and takes Irma parallel to the east coast, and then out to sea northeastward. This high pressure system's quicker, it moves off to the east, a weakness in the ridge develops, and Irma follows suit. Follows that path of least resistance I mentioned. So again, hurricanes always move towards areas of lower atmospheric pressure, taking the path of least resistance. And then finally, there's a possible landfall somewhere along the southeast coast. Too early to tell where, if it all happens. So the track is going to be dependent on those aforementioned synoptic features, the high pressure system, where will another trough come in between now and then? After this one passes offshore, will another trough come in? Will that allow... Another thing with troughs is if a hurricane gets sucked up into a trough, the trough moves off the coast, that would take Irma out to sea as well. So just keep that in mind. But now is the time. Now is the time to prepare your hurricane emergency kits. Do not wait till the last minute before the storm arrives. Not trying to scare anybody at all in this video, but you want to be prepared, you and your family. You don't want to wait to the very end to try to scramble to get ready for a storm, for a landfalling hurricane. Also, you want to follow the latest forecast guidance from the National Hurricane Center, and there's the website there, nhc.noaa.gov. Continue to follow their latest advisories on Irma. You're free to look at their discussions. They post the official tracks. So please be following the latest forecast guidance from the National Hurricane Center. They are the tropical weather experts. And that's really all I have for tonight on the latest update on Irma here at Spot On Weather. It's a complex forecast, one that will be fine-tuned in the coming days. And again, it's still way too early to tell which way this dangerous hurricane is going to move. Keep it here at Spot On Weather. We'll keep you tuned and up to date. Spot On Weather. If we're not spot on, we're not doing it right. Have a great evening, everyone.